It's time once again for another episode of the Law and Medicine Show, being sponsored by the law firm of Princenthal-and-may. Broadcasting live from the Pro Business Channel studios in Atlanta. And now please welcome your host and their guests on today's episode.
Well, as the intro says, this is Law and Medicine, dun dun. And like it or not, I am going to be your host of this show. My name is David May, and I am the managing partner of the law firm of Princenthal-and-may, which has offices in LaGrange and in Atlanta. And my objective in hosting this show is to have on here great lawyers, great doctors who have interesting practices. And so, speaking of that, my first guest here today is Dr. Miguel Jimenez, and then he will be followed by his partner in business, Dr. Tannaz Modaresi, and then at the end of the guest will be Attorney John Wales, who's an excellent labor law attorney. So, with that, let's go ahead and kick off the show. Dr. Jimenez, tell us about yourself.
Yes, I'm a orthopedic surgeon. I specialize in the area of spine surgery. I take care of patients that have neck, back, and pain, numbness or tingling in the upper or lower extremities. We treat them conservatively. We do spinal injections, and we do minimally invasive surgery when we have to.
Okay. And where's your practice at, and what's the name of your practice?
Our office is in Norcross, and we're injury wellness specialists of Georgia, and we're located in Norcross, in the corner of Holcomb Bridge Road and Peachtree Industrial. Okay,
and it's my understanding you and Dr. Modaresi will be opening up an office shortly in College Park. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, it's located on Phoenix Boulevard in College Park.
All right. Well, congratulations. Let's hear a little bit about your background.
Yes, I went to school. University of Rochester was where I went to medical school. From there, I did my orthopedic residency at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. From there, I went on and then got my spine fellowship at the Hospital of Special Surgery in New York.
Okay. And tell us about the type of patients you see.
Well, I see a lot of injured patients. I specialize in the area of patients that are injured either through motor vehicle accidents and on some occasions workman's comp injuries as well.
And tell us about the type of orthopedic treatment you provide.
Well, I provide first conservative treatment, and I do that through Dr. Modaresi here. I send patients out for chiropractic treatment and physical therapy. If that fails, then they come back and see me, and I do spinal injections, which include epidurals, medial branch blocks. If they fail the spinal injections, then at that point, I do recommend surgery, and I do minimally invasive spine surgery.
And so the vast majority of patients you see, though, do not require surgery. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you're very conservative about recommending surgery. So in other words, you attempt conservative care first and significantly before you reach the point typically where you're recommending surgery. Is that right?
Absolutely. And the way I like to put it is that the knife comes with a lot of responsibility. And I think as a surgeon, I think that we have an ethical responsibility to use surgery only when it's absolutely necessary. And I think that if you treat patients conservatively long enough, a lot of them get better. Sometimes you can't do that because the pain is severe or they're having neurologic symptoms that can get worse or become permanent, and then you have to intervene.
Okay. And tell us about the types of surgeries you do.
Well, I do cervical surgeries, back surgeries, everything you can imagine. I've done it. I've done scoliosis surgeries in the past, but it doesn't pertain to this particular topic. But I do a lot of what I do is minimally invasive, small little incisions. I do a fusion with a 1.5 centimeter incision on either side. Surgery takes about an hour to do. The patient goes home the following day.
Okay. Now, do you think there's a tendency in today's medical environment for surgery to be overprescribed?
I do, and I think some of it has to do with the fact that there's a lot of pressure in healthcare today. Our reimbursements for doctors are going down, so there is a tendency or a bias for some doctors to want to do procedures or do parts of their practice that produce more money for them. And as a surgeon, you make more money doing surgery. But I think that it's a very fine line. I think that you have to be careful and not overtreat patients. I think it's more important to get patients better conservatively first, and surgery should be your last option.
So how do you, what factor, let me put it like this, what facts are you looking at or factors are you considering or weighing in a patient before you'll recommend surgery? So you may have patient A here and patient B here. You order surgery for one but not the other, even though the injury could be somewhat similar. Tell us what you might consider.
Well, it's a multifaceted evaluation, and what we do is it's combined with imaging. A patient comes into our office if they have failed conservative treatment, that kind of graduates the patient to another level of treatment if they fail conservative treatment. At that point, we do an MRI, and an MRI may show us that one patient has a disc herniation, the other one doesn't. So a disc herniation may be a reason that surgery may be required if that patient does not get better with either injections first. If that doesn't work, then we recommend surgery. So surgery is based on if we can get you better with conservative treatment, then you don't need surgery. So we try that first, and in this case, we do chiropractic treatment, and we also do the injections, which adds another arm of treatment before surgery.
Okay. All right. And as an orthopedic surgeon, it seems to me it's somewhat unusual to be in practice with a doctor of chiropractic, as Dr. Modaresi is. And tell us what the benefits of your multidisciplinary practice are with Dr. Modaresi.
Sure. I've always believed that conservative treatment is something that it's an important, I would say, pre-treatment to surgery. So I wanted to align myself with a chiropractor that believed that. I think one of the fears that a lot of patients may have with chiropractic treatment is that they treat them too long. And I wanted to align myself with someone that knows when to refer. If you treat someone for 3 months or 6 weeks and they're not getting better, you got to change treatment modalities. And Dr. Modaresi does that. If the patient has failed her conservative treatments for a period of time, she refers out. If the patient has a severe neurologic problem, if they're having numbness or tingling, or if the x-ray shows some sort of instability, she refers the patient to me. And so being in the same practice and being able to have patients that we can offer conservative treatment and having a doctor that can refer us when we have something that's more serious was a good marriage for us.
I find it interesting that a lot of the insurance carriers feel like the chiropractors will treat a patient for too long a period of time. And then I see other cases in our workers' comp practice where, while we're litigating, so to speak, certain issues, they will keep them on pain medications for a very, very long time, which to me seems to have much more harmful consequences. And I've always thought that chiropractic is also a good alternative, perhaps for some people, for pain management, certainly better than the long-term use of narcotics. What are your thoughts on that subject?
Yeah, I would agree. The medications, they're kind of a double-edged sword. You can treat the patient and it can help you, but in the same regard, it can lead to an addiction problem. It can lead to dependency. That can lead to other problems. One of the issues I think with workman's comp, sometimes it's very, and I don't know if this is done intentionally or not, but certainly it's very hard to build a clinical case for a patient when everything gets denied. And oftentimes the only option that we have as a surgeon when we're seeing workman's comp patients is that if they want to prove a procedure that may help them, so in the meantime we have to give them medications to try to help them out. So I think it leads to a bigger problem. So I would say that in answer to your question, I would say that it is a big problem that I think that we're seeing in injured patients. I think that modalities like chiropractic treatment, if they're introduced, can also help. I've also seen, too, that patients that have failed conservative treatment, they come in and see me and they get an injection. Let's say they've reached a plateau. If I send them back to chiropractic treatment, they're able to gain a little bit more pain relief. So certainly the modalities can work together to get better treatments or better outcomes.
Well, one of the reasons I've seen insurance carriers and workers' comp, and for that matter, in weighing settlement evaluations and personal injury, one of the reasons why they'll deny treatment in workers' comp is sometimes they accuse the injured workers of exaggerating their symptoms, and you try to argue that the injured worker is motivated by secondary gain, right? In other words, a larger settlement in lay terms. And I've always had a problem with that, because when you look at the workers' comp segment of the population, these are people that go into more physically demanding jobs. Meanwhile, all their medical care is getting denied, and then they're not working, and then when a sense of depression sets in, then they're looked at as then a little cuckoo. You got a mental problem, and that just shows you where this injured worker is coming from. In other words, that's what the insurance carriers will try to do and characterize. What do you try to stay on the lookout for accident victims or injured workers who might be seeking secondary gain? I don't doubt that it exists out there. I just think it's exaggerated. It's just my own opinion. What are your thoughts on that, and what do you do to try to evaluate people and make sure they're not exaggerating their symptoms?
Well, I go in with the mindset that be the doctor. I believe everybody. I think every patient that walks in my door with pain, I don't have a mindset that they're lying to me. I really believe that they're having pain. So when I see them, I go with that ideal, and I treat them. And if a patient gives me a reason to think otherwise, then I may think otherwise. But I would agree with you. I think it is over-exaggerated. I think a lot of it has to do with the way the system especially works in workman's comp, is that you can't treat the patient. I mean, a lot of the treatments that will make him better, they're denying him. So you can't offer him the treatment to make him feel better. So it seems like these patients can become desperate, and it really affects their lives.
All right. And this will be a shameless plug, but for you listeners out there who may have been injured on the job, that's a good reason to go and hire a good attorney who will get your medical authorized. Now let's move to your partner here, Dr. Modaresi. Tell us about yourself.
I graduated from Life University, and I'm board certified in chiropractor and also board certified in physical therapy modalities through the chiropractic examiners. I have taken some extensive postgraduate courses on accident, injury, patient, disc disorders, and extremity adjustment. Okay.
And I would add to that Dr. Modaresi is bilingual, and you speak some Farsi. Is that correct?
Yes,
Not today, though.
Farsi, yes.
All right, and a very good chiropractor. Tell us why you believe in chiropractic medicine.
I like chiropractic medicine because I know I can help people back to pain-free life through the natural way and conservative care, and help them back to pre-status injury if they've been injured.
Okay. And I'm going to ask you a question similar to the one I asked Dr. Jimenez. Why are you in practice with an orthopedic surgeon? That's a little bit unusual for a chiropractor, but I think my own opinion is that offers a nice alternative to patients. But tell us why you're in practice.
First of all, Dr. Jimenez, I like Dr. Jimenez because he believes in chiropractic. Some orthopedic doctor thinks just medication will help, or surgery. I believe in that, but I still think it's better to start with some conservative care, which if patient got injured, for example, come to me first, I will initially send them for the X-ray evaluation. So if it's fracture going on or if it's instability going on, I have to right away refer to Dr. Jimenez. But if it's more like a soft tissue damage or a ligament damage, I can start working on them with the conservative care, manipulation or mobilization therapy. And in addition to that, I can do physical therapy modalities as well as a tense unit, ice pack, massage. And then if I see the people get better, fine. I'm in a point that I'll be happy and could help people back to normal pre-injury status. But if not, and the symptom get progress, then I have to refer them to Dr. Jimenez, and I'm happy to have him in the same office that the patient can continue to get care.
All right. And if I understand correctly, not only are you a chiropractor, but you have certification in physical therapy. Is that right?
Yes, I got trained through the chiropractic examiners, and I got certified for physical therapy modalities.
And tell the listeners, what's the difference really between physical therapy and chiropractic medicine?
Physical therapists. They can do work on muscle and ligaments, help by stretching, strengthening exercises, using the modalities, help them, to get better. But they cannot diagnose. So chiropractors, what they can do, they can diagnose themselves, and they can work on not just ligaments and the muscle issue. They can work on moving the joint, because sometimes if people have misalignment, we call it, so that means the joint is not in the right place and the bone is moved. So what chiropractor can do, addition to what physical therapy do, they can fix that problem as well. And so by that, we can get a better kind of result sometimes.
Okay. All right. And are you accepting new patients?
Yes, we accept new patients, and we are offering free consultations and MRI reviews.
Okay. All right. So any patient gets the free consultation. Is that correct?
Oh, I'll let Dr. Jimenez.
Yes, we do an initial free consultation. So we'll evaluate your records. Even if you're treating with another doctor, we'll evaluate your MRIs and give you our opinions.
Okay. All right. Very good. Now, you have still out there sort of old school MDs, medical doctors, who are not always the greatest fans or advocates of chiropractic medicine. I do slowly see that changing, though, with different doctors I meet. What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Modaresi, about orthopedics or other types of MDs that frown upon chiropractic care?
I just hopefully I just have a hope that these days patients always ask for natural way of the treatment, and I hope they give the message to all the MDs, and hopefully they a little bit try to get themselves educated about chiropractors, and hopefully one day they all get it that we can really help people as a conservative care.
And in other words, keep an open mind and learn something about the School of Medicine before formulating your opinion. I think they call that prejudice, right? You have any thoughts on that, Dr. Jimenez?
Yeah, I would say that, I think a lot of our training, I think the younger doctors are being trained to be more open-minded. I think that I would like to give myself all the credit for making every patient better, but that's simply not true. I mean, I think a lot of patients get better with conservative treatment and with time. So I think that if you can treat people long enough conservatively, they will get better. So I think I'm here just for the people that don't get better.
I once heard a doctor who I respect say, and I probably don't have this exactly right, I think this has something to do with the Hippocratic Oath or something, but or maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm wrong about an awful lot of things. At least the other side tells me I am. But he once told me that there are some patients he cannot help, and there are other patients that he can harm. And, sometimes his objective is just to make sure he is not harming this patient, because sometimes, a lot of doctors are humanitarian and some are very aggressive in their interventionalism, and, sometimes that can do more harm than good. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think that the knife comes with a lot of responsibility. I think as a surgeon, there are things that we can offer that non-surgeons can offer, and I think that you have to be, you can't be so heavy-handed with your hand. I think that you really have to realize that although surgery is a good option for a lot of patients, there are complications that occur, and there are patients that get better without having to cut them per se. And I think that doctors nowadays, even though they're being pushed, there's a lot of, I would say a lot of push to certainly do other procedures, do more procedures because they're getting paid less and less. I think that we can't forget why we're here. We're here to be good doctors, and being the good doctor or a good surgeon is you don't operate on everybody.
Yeah, side to side, working together, it's really, our goal is to help patients to get better, improve their health. So it's really good if we can work side to side and help them achieve their health.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. Not only are you working side by side, but you'll see the patient from the perspective of different schools of medicine. So I could see how how the two of you could be helpful to one another in that regard as well.
Yeah, it's a good team. I think we work synergistically, and I think together we work better at getting patients.
All right, and finally, Dr. Modaresi, my last question to you is, how do people find you?
Really, through the website. Attorneys always can refer us patients through word of mouth these days. We've been out for I've been out more than 5-6 years, and he was 13 years experience in practice. And website is injurywellnessspecialist.com, and our phone number is 770-800-1000. We are having a 24/7 service on the phone. We will answer the phone, and any question if they have, anybody can call. We always answer the phone. Dr. Jimenez or me, or we can talk to them as well.
Okay. Nice phone number there. Nice service. Now I'm going to switch to my good friend here, John Wales, who always has some interesting thoughts to impart. And why don't we just start off, John, with you telling us a little bit about yourself. We don't need the whole 45-minute ugly history, but just a nice summary here.
Well, that would be the least interesting. I'm a lawyer, and I practice labor and employment law. I represent individuals who are suing corporations, the government, the big guy, and primarily that's civil rights discrimination. It's interesting, something you were talking about with Dr. Jimenez was the idea of a disbelief of many doctors. They think that maybe the doctor is, or the patient, a disbelief in their patient. It is the patient exaggerating. And I've had a question or two asked to me about discrimination law. You're by and large, the plaintiff's bar, they're not telling the truth.
Are you referring to disability discrimination, such as ADA, or what types of...
Any type of discrimination.
Okay.
There's a very segregated bar. If you do defense work, you don't do plaintiff's work, and vice versa. And my response was, oh my God, we'd win every time if our clients lied, because it's rarely a cut and dry case of discrimination or of a civil rights violation. It's often extremely difficult. In fact, it's a mental crime, a mental violation, which is to say you need to prove what's in someone's head. You can get fired, right? You can have an awful boss, and it's perfectly legal, even if it's rotten. But it's only illegal if it's because they're doing it motivated by a discriminatory animus, as it's called, and that's hard to do, to prove the motivation for an action. I mean, in the olden days, in the 50s, in the 60s, it wasn't. I was first admitted in New York, and I didn't understand at the time why I got into this area until I moved to Georgia, and I found an awful lot of work to do as far as basic, old-fashioned discrimination that you don't see as much of, but perhaps it's really a different sort of. But there has been a change. I'm kind of answering questions you're not even asking.
Way to anticipate like a good lawyer. All right, go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you this. You said there is a little bit of self-promotion involved, yes?
Just you. The rest of us are good, very humble people here today. But you go right on ahead. We'd like to hear from you.
I did hear Kasim Reed, Mayor Reed, was on this broadcast.
I don't know this particular broadcast, but perhaps Rich can explain that.
The Attorney General was here, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I thought it was Mayor Reed. I have a case that involves not the mayor, but the city of Atlanta. And if I was the mayor, I would settle the case. It's the Hamer case. You know it, Mayor Reed. We worked together. We did work together a long, long time ago. So I think it should settle. That's my opinion. And I know you agree, David, completely.
That sounds
no
like
comment.
That sounds like no comment. Yeah. That's not dead air, yeah.
I want you in there trying that case. I want it to be a 6-week trial. I want to see that, I want to see John Wales thunder through that courtroom. No, just
thunder is a good word. Actually, it's funny. I haven't been to trial much. In fact, it's a law professor, but I'll steal it from. You know what I always say? I say, if you're doing your job, you shouldn't be in trial. A good case will always settle, and a bad case you either shouldn't take or it'll get thrown out. So if you're in trial, you've done something wrong, and I mean it's the law, but it does seem to be a bit of theater almost. You've done probably a hell of a lot more trials than I have, or am I wrong?
Yes, I've done my share of jury trials, but in workers' compensation, remember these are essentially bench trials. They are basically quickie trials. I don't have to spend 2 days picking a jury or nearly the preparation time, and workers' compensation is designed to do that. A little bit different ballgame when you march on down there to the federal court and you're picking a jury in a discrimination claim, isn't it? And I can imagine these cases are very, very emotionally draining and difficult to litigate.
But 2 points. I'll address the second one first because I'll forget, which is I find that when you are in front of a jury, they want to know who's responsible for bringing them there. They're good citizens who are doing their duty as citizens, but I've yet to meet the person who wants to be there, who wants to have several days of their work life, personal life interrupted, and they are looking from side to side to see who they should hold responsible. And you don't want it to be your side. No. It's not the plaintiff who brought the suit. No, it's the defendant who's not giving a fair or equitable solution. So I find that to be part of the dynamic, which is difficult. But as far as what was the other part? Going to trial. Emotional. Yeah, of course it's emotional. Do you know the 3 most stressful things, according to psychiatrists, in a person's life are, can you guess?
Divorce, moving, especially with some of the moving companies around town.
Moving your home, and it's not about the moving company. It's about that's your nest.
How did I know this? Wow, I would guess something like that.
And the third is losing your job.
Okay.
And of course, someone would say, well, what about death? But we expect death. We expect the generation who precedes us to pass. It's only when it's out of sync.
I agree. I see that's my clients in workers' compensation often lose their jobs in the course of the workers' comp claim or as part of the settlement, and it can be a very difficult thing sometimes. Some of these folks don't have really the transferable skills to just go somewhere else. Let me ask you this.
But no, you asked about emotion. I want to get into
that.
It is emotional because it's your role as a provider. Right. It's your role, for the most part. Very few people work as a leisure activity. It's just they need the job. And so, I've found, here's a tip as far as the pro-business side for all employers, and that is dignity, manners. If someone is separated without feeling shamed, there is probably 50%. I guarantee it, a 50% less they're likely to bring a claim. It's when you feel somehow that you have to show it wasn't you, it was them, that sometimes motivates. Now, often it's because there was some sort of animus, but as the baby boom, that segment of our society, 1945 to 65, they've run our cultural zeitgeist, right, as they've grown up. They're now aging, and so the amount of disability, Americans with disability claims, as well as age discrimination in employment claims, are going to rise with them. And I think that it seems silly, but one of my first partners, one of my first bosses at a law firm in New York once said, if you just have basic manners, well, actually, his words were, you wouldn't need any of this sexual harassment stuff if you just had basic manners. You treat women with manners. And in a way, I see his point now. As you get older, you see people's point, which is disturbing.
A little civility goes a long way. Let me ask you this, John.
But I haven't finished my answer.
Right. They're cutting me off. They're doing that thing where your head falls off or whatever, right? I'm trying to.
I'm sorry.
Let me ask you this, John. Tell us about the types of. John could actually go on and tell us some very interesting stories. He's got a lot of insight into things that happen in society. He sees some very emotional situations.
I see.
But what I want to know
returning guest. Yeah.
But what I want to know right now is what type of cases you take, John, and how do our listeners find you?
You can find me by emailing or calling Princenthal-and-may, and they will send me a referral form. Or you can contact John Wales, or Wales like the country, not the fish or mammal. Am I giving my contact info?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, or you can call me.
You do want to be found, right? You're not hiding.
There are no authorities or outside ones I'm aware of. At 770-850-2545, where you can't reach me now for reasons. But what I do is I represent individuals. Now, sometimes those individuals are the government. I represent police officers who are under investigation concerning their certification as peace officers. I represent individuals who are having an issue with their company. And one last thing, and this is a very good word of advice, and then I'm done, apparently, and that is, even if you're high-ranking, even if you poo-poo or push the idea of discrimination, that's for some schmo. No. The higher you are in a company, the more replaceable you are, and when it does happen, it's so unexpected. The most shocked clients I've ever had are the ones who are very high-ranking, mid-upper level executives, and they always thought it was us and them. It's not. It's us and us. And that's it.
That's very interesting, and I guess that's going to conclude Law and Medicine. Dun dun.
I didn't see you. I'm sorry.
Thank you again for joining us and our guests on the Law and Medicine Show. Use the social media links here to share today's show. And stay tuned for the next episode of the Law and Medicine Show. Brought to you by the law firm of Princenthal-and-may. To connect with the show's sponsor, visit princemay.com. And to listen to previous broadcasts, visit lawandmedicinесhow.com.